Hello there, L.M. here again with a little more from Shed Engineering. Unfortunately we haven't had time to do a lot to the layout just recently, and what I have done is been a little bit experimental and something you can't really notice and appreciate at the moment. One of the areas that I've made a little bit of progress is next to where the station's going to be. The station platform is going to be in this area. This area will be the station car park to the rear of the station, and then obviously we've got the road coming up and over the railway line. So as you can see, I've managed to get the first structures in place for the bridge, and I've got the road surface laid for the road. I've actually used wet and dry sandpaper. I thought that could easily be weathered down, and it's a pretty nice colour to start off with for a basic colour, and then obviously I can put the arched bridge in there and the retaining walls at either side. So that's a little bit of progress that we've managed to do. I'm pretty conscious of the contours of the landscape. I obviously wanted this to be looking like a real hillside, where there's a bit of a cut through, and where the hillside will actually continue down as it does in reality. And the same here. I wanted a realistic slope coming up and over the railway bridge. So that's one thing. The structure here, as I've just masked it off and made more or less a mould out of cardboard on either side, then filled it with expanding foam. I put a couple of reinforcing rods, wire reinforcing rods, over the top to give it some extra stiffness, and again over the bridge here, just to give that some rigidity, I put some reinforcing rods across there, so that is pretty strong in itself, and then I can just face it with some brick paper and the arch for the railway line, because the platforms actually go underneath the bridge and come out at this side. They're extended under the road bridge in actual fact. So that's one area where we've managed to make a little bit of progress. I came across this in the local model shop. I'm in Peterborough. This is from Trains for You. Second hand. I always look in the second hand box just to see what they've got. I've no idea what it is. I haven't tried finding out what it is. The main reason of buying it is that in Bakewell, during the period that I'm modelling, middle 50s, they had what was called holiday coaches, and they'd refurbished some old coaches, and they would park them up in station sidings and let them out as holiday lets. And in Bakewell there was a couple of coaches like this, and I believe that they were green and cream livery, and so I was hoping that I could mask that off and add some a cream stripe down by the windows to represent one of the holiday coaches. I don't expect for 1 minute it's prototypical to what was actually at Bakewell at the time. Just here, the other side of the bridge, I've continued with the expanding foam, brought that up, and again on this area just here, this is where it's going to be folding. So again I put a plastic sheet across here, squirted in the expanding foam so that I've got an edge, and then the landscape from here will again come up to this point, but again I shall have to put something in between so that it doesn't stick, and hopefully we can then disguise the crack or the join between. I've shaped this down quite a bit, and I'm just about to start adding the filler on this section. It ends up being a different colour, but at least I've got a base colour that I can actually start with. I try getting a match each time, but it always ends up being quite different. So I'm going to try and fill this area down to the little access bridge and try and get the embankments something like. So here in my mixing tub, we've got the filler that I'm using, and this is 2 tubes of decorator's cork, some PVA glue, and 3 or 4 good handfuls of sawdust, and then I've added some emulsion paint to try and get it self-coloured, so that if there is any cracks or when I drill, there's not going to be any white plaster showing. And again, for anybody new, flexibility is extremely important. With this being a folding layout, then there's obviously going to be some twisting, so I'm very conscious that if I was to use plaster cloth or anything like household filler etc., then I'm sure it would crack in no time. And so, as I say, I'm very conscious of trying to get some flexibility into whatever I do, and hopefully the decorator's cork, being acrylic along with the PVA, should give some flexibility, and we won't get any serious cracking. I'd actually forgotten to put some PVA glue on here. I don't think it's totally necessary, but it's better to be safe than sorry, so to speak. And so what I've done on the other areas is just put some neat PVA glue over the area before putting the filler on. I know when I get the filler on my hands, then it's very difficult to get off. You can see all the air bubbles in the foam. I think I've said before that I fully expected being able to sand the foam down, but obviously with all the air bubbles then that's not the case at all. So this mixture, as you can see, is very workable. With the sawdust, it's got a nice texture, and hopefully with all these air bubbles etc, it will have a good key into all these crevices. And so we shouldn't get any delamination or it's starting to lift or anything. I've sort of prodded and poked, and yes, they take it takes quite a few days, if not a week or so, to dry off, but it definitely seems very durable. So I'll turn the camera off and then come back when I've had a chance to do a little bit of this. Here I've just slid in a piece of plastic sheet. This is where the two sections, the two folding sections are going to come together, and this will give me a nice clean edge to be able to work up to. And hopefully once this is dry, with the plastic sheet being so smooth, you'll be able to run a razor blade down there or a scalpel and just separate it away from the filler that I'm applying. I'm just putting the PVA glue there just to hold the sheet right up against the scenery so that it's not gapping. Right, I'm just applying a tiny drop of water because it's acrylic decorator's cork, then it's water based, and so I'm just smoothing that down a little bit. I'm not too worried about any tiny little holes. There can be little rabbit holes, and by the time I put scatter on and what have you, a lot of the smaller holes will obviously be filled and disappear, but that soon gives quite a nice texture. Little bit tedious, I suppose, but it's probably no different to doing plaster cloth. I don't know how that tractor got there. I'm sure he was further down the field earlier. What is he doing? Trying to go across the bridge? Well, I never. Somebody must have put some batteries in him. Well, that's about it for today. I don't think you need to say any more than that. I'll show you a bit more when it's all complete. So there we go. That's another little bit done. Sorry it's not a lot of progress, but every little bit helps. When I do get time to do anything, I end up watching other people's videos and getting totally engrossed in them, and all of a sudden a couple of hours has disappeared. Come on, be honest. Who really thought I was laying a water pipeline? So no, it wasn't a water pipeline I was modelling, it was my URVTS, my Underroad Vehicle Transit System. And remember, this is not HO or O gauge, nor is it double O. This is actually N gauge, although I'm quite sure it would work a lot better in double O. It's not intended for modelling an A road or a B road, but it's more for sort of key areas and cameo situations, perhaps 4 forklift trucks running backwards and forwards, or a Land Rover going round a farmyard, movement of lorries in a scrapyard or coal yard, something along those lines. Okay, we still have a few teething problems, obviously, to try and sort out, but we're making progress of sorts. I can have a tractor pulling some wagons into place in the sidings. We can have a suitable lorry, if I ever find one that is, come down the hill, over the bridge and into the yard where it can get weighed at a weighbridge, then move over to the sidings ready to get loaded. So now I just need to work out how I can get the coal from the wagon over to a mobile coal conveyor, which I've got to invent and get to work, and then the coal conveyor will hopefully load the lorry so it can then depart back over the bridge and up the hill and away. Meanwhile, Farmer Giles, I suppose, can be riding round his field checking on his livestock, but until I get things like the field smoothed down, then it's never going to run very well, because some of the lumps there are as big as what the wheels are. But with monsters like this, I could possibly train them to pull the cars around instead of going to all the trouble that I am doing. I don't know, look at that thing. But there we go. So until next time, thank you very much to all the new subscribers, and thank you very much for watching.